Some people think revenge is about rage, about shouting, screaming, burning everything down, but that's not always the case. Sometimes the real kind of revenge, the one that leaves a mark, comes from heartbreak, from silence, from love that never got the chance to heal. This is the story of a daughter who loved her father more than anything, and of the woman who took him away, piece by piece, while smiling to his face. It's a story about grief, betrayal, and the kind of justice only a broken heart can deliver. They say time heals everything, but for me, time only sharpened the blade.
My dad used to tell me that promises were sacred. Not the kind you say and forget, but the kind that stay in your bones. He said a promise was a piece of your soul you give away, and that's why you never make one you can't keep. I grew up in a little two-story house at the edge of town, the kind with creaky floors and paint that always needed one more coat. My dad built half of it himself after Mom died. He wasn't perfect, but he tried. Every Sunday morning, we'd make burnt pancakes together, pretending it was our secret recipe. He always let me flip the first one, even though it landed on the floor almost every time. He'd just laugh, kiss my forehead, and say, "Don't worry, Lil." That's why dogs were invented. We didn't have much, but we had each other. Every photo in that house, every scuff on the wall had our fingerprints on it. Then, when I turned 18, everything changed. Dad met Caroline. She was graceful, polite, always smiling in that practiced way people do when they know everyone's watching. At first, I thought she made him happy. He'd been lonely for so long, and I wanted that for him. Someone to keep him company when I left for college. But there was something about her. Something I could never quite name. Maybe it was the way she looked at me, like I was a stain she couldn't scrub out. Or maybe it was how she always called me sweetheart in that syrupy tone that made the word sound like an insult. That first Christmas after they got married, Dad was glowing. He gave both of us matching silver necklaces, his idea of bringing the family together. Caroline smiled, thanked him, and kissed his cheek. But by the next morning, hers was gone. "Must have slipped off in my sleep," she said, sipping her coffee. Dad looked disappointed but said nothing. I just stared at her hand. No clasp mark, no chain, nothing. She hadn't lost it. She'd thrown it away. Still, Dad kept trying. He planned movie nights, dinners, small road trips, anything to make it feel like a family. But every time I showed up, Caroline had an excuse. "He's resting. He's not feeling well. He's busy with work right now, honey." The more she smiled, the more I felt her pushing me out of my own home. There was this one night, his birthday. I'd driven 3 hours from college just to surprise him. When I got there, the house was dark. I knocked, softly at first, then harder. Caroline opened the door halfway, blocking the view inside. "Oh, Lily! We didn't think you'd come," she said, holding a glass of wine. "He's asleep. Long day, best not wake him." And just as I turned to leave, I heard it. Muffled, faint from behind her. "Is that my little girl?" Then she turned the TV up, drowning his voice in laughter that wasn't ours. I sat in my car for almost an hour after that. I told myself he didn't mean it, that he was tired, that things would get better. But when I looked up at the window, I saw her silhouette standing behind the curtain, watching me drive away. That's the night something broke. Not loud, not dramatic, just quietly, like a thread snapping under too much weight. "Promises are sacred," Dad used to say. I just didn't realize he'd made one to the wrong person. Time has a way of changing people. Or maybe it just shows you who they really were all along. After Dad married Caroline, little things started to shift. Nothing big enough to scream about, just enough to notice. At first, she'd accidentally forget to pass along my calls. Then she started handling his calendar, his emails, his meds. She said she was helping, but somehow the more she helped, the less I saw him. When I came home from college one weekend, Dad seemed different. He still smiled, still told his bad jokes, but he was slower, tired. When I asked if he was okay, he brushed it off. "Just getting older, Lil. You'll understand someday." Caroline stood behind him with that same polite smile. "He's fine, sweetheart. You worry too much." The way she said sweetheart made my stomach twist. Then came the small humiliations. She'd correct my grammar mid-sentence. She'd tell me I shouldn't talk about mom so much, it upsets him. She replaced the family photos in the hallway, every one that had just me and Dad, with ones of her and him, smiling like a magazine ad. I'd stand there, staring at those frames, trying to remember which picture used to hang where. And for a moment, it felt like I'd imagined my whole childhood. One day I called home and she answered. "Oh, Lily, your dad's taking a nap. I'll tell him you called." Her voice was soft, sweet, too sweet. But later that night, Dad texted me. "Did you forget to call today? Miss hearing your voice." That's when I realized she wasn't just managing his schedule. She was managing me. A few months later, I decided to surprise him for his birthday. I bought his favorite cake, chocolate with peanut butter frosting, and drove 3 hours home. When I got there, it was dark. No lights, no decorations. For a second, I thought I had the date wrong. I knocked. Caroline opened the door halfway, just like before. Wine glass in hand, makeup perfect, not a trace of warmth in her eyes. "Oh, Lily, we didn't expect you." "It's Dad's birthday," I said, holding up the cake. She smiled faintly. "He's sleeping. Rough day. You wouldn't want to wake him." Her tone wasn't a suggestion. It was a command dressed as concern. I hesitated, then from behind her, muffled through the hall, I heard his voice. "Is that my little girl?" My throat closed. Before I could speak, she turned the TV volume up. Loud sitcom laughter filling the silence between us. "He needs rest," she said, and shut the door. I sat in my car for almost an hour after that, just staring at the window where the light flickered. For a moment, I saw her, a silhouette against the curtain, perfectly still, watching me through the glass. That was the first night I realized something was deeply wrong. Weeks turned into months. Our calls grew shorter, our conversations emptier. He started forgetting things. My birthday, our Sunday pancakes, even Mom's name once. Every time I asked, Caroline said it was just stress. But when I looked at him, I saw the same man who once built our house with his bare hands, and now he looked like a shadow living in his own home. The last time I saw him alive, he hugged me at the door and whispered, "I'm proud of you, Pumpkin." Then he pulled back, confused, like he'd forgotten why he said it. Caroline rested her hand on his shoulder and smiled, and for a second, just a second, I saw something cold flicker in her eyes. That was the moment I should have fought harder. But you don't notice a storm building when it starts with a single drop. The call came on a Wednesday. I still remember the way the sunlight hit the kitchen floor. Bright, ordinary, unaware that my whole world was about to collapse. It was Caroline's voice. Cool, composed, almost rehearsed. "Lily, your father's gone." Just like that. No warning, no softness. She said, "Heart attack." Said he went quickly. Then she hung up before I could even ask where his body was. The funeral was small, too small for a man who'd built half the town's homes. Caroline planned everything herself. She chose a sleek, silver coffin instead of the old oak one Dad always said he wanted. She changed the music, the flowers, even the photo by the altar. Replaced the one of us fishing with a studio portrait of her and him smiling like strangers. When I tried to bring the photo of Mom and him to set beside it, she blocked my hand. "This isn't about the past, sweetheart." Sweetheart. That word again, sharp enough to cut through the air. I stood alone by his grave after everyone left. The grass was still wet. My shoes sank into the dirt, and I whispered, "I'm sorry, Dad. I should have come sooner." A breeze passed through, carrying the smell of rain and lilies, his favorite flower. I could almost hear his laugh echoing between the trees. That kind of quiet hurts more than any scream ever could. 2 weeks later, Caroline called again. "The will's being read tomorrow morning. You should be there." I showed up early, clutching his old watch in my hand like a talisman. The lawyer, an older man with kind eyes, looked uneasy as he shuffled the papers. "Per Mr. Holloway's final wishes," he began, "the estate, including the house, business assets, and all accounts, will be inherited by Mrs. Caroline Holloway." My chest went cold. He kept reading. To his daughter Lily, he leaves one item: a wooden box marked with her name. That was it. Caroline didn't look at me. She just smiled faintly, folded her hands, and said, "He said you'd understand." The lawyer slid the box across the table. It was small, maybe the size of a shoebox, old and worn with my name carved into the lid. That night, I sat alone in my apartment, the box on the table in front of me. For hours, I couldn't open it. I was terrified it would prove what Caroline wanted me to believe, that he'd forgotten me too. Finally, I lifted the lid. Inside was nothing but an old pocket watch and a folded note. The handwriting was his, shaky but familiar. "Find the truth." That's all it said. No explanation, no goodbye. I stared at those words until they blurred. Grief doesn't always come as tears. Sometimes it comes as numbness, a hollow ache where love used to live. I pressed the note to my chest, whispering through the sobs I couldn't hold back. "I'll find it, Dad. I promise." The next morning, I went back to the house, not as his daughter, but as someone looking for ghosts. And deep down, I think he knew that's exactly what I'd become.
Grief makes you see ghosts in everything. In empty chairs, in dusty coffee cups, in the quiet hum of the house you grew up in. But that day, when I walked back into Dad's workshop, the ghost I found wasn't him. It was the truth he'd left behind. The place smelled like sawdust and oil, exactly the same as when I was a kid. Every shelf still held his old tools, lined up in perfect rows like soldiers. There was even a mug of cold coffee by the window, half finished. It hit me then. She hadn't even cleaned this room. Maybe she thought it didn't matter. I started sorting through his drawers. Old invoices, notebooks, blueprints. Most of it looked ordinary. But when I opened the bottom drawer, something caught my eye. The wood felt uneven. I ran my fingers along the edge and heard a click. The bottom panel lifted. Inside was a hidden compartment, and in it, a small black flash drive, a worn notebook, and a sealed envelope with my name on it. I opened the envelope first. It was a letter, only 1 page long, written in his handwriting. "If you're reading this, Pumpkin, I didn't get the chance to tell you everything. Caroline isn't who she pretends to be. I tried to stop her, but she was always one step ahead. Don't let her take what's left of us. Find the truth." My hands were shaking. For a second, I couldn't breathe. He knew. All along, he knew. I plugged the flash drive into my laptop. There were dozens of files, scanned bank statements, business ledgers, contracts, each one linked to Caroline's name. Money transfers to her private accounts, invoices with forged signatures, even messages between her and a company lawyer about ownership transitions. She'd been stealing from him for years, bleeding him dry while pretending to care for him. And the worst part? He'd found out. There was one last file, an audio recording. I hesitated before clicking play. Then I heard his voice. "If you're hearing this, sweetheart, I couldn't fix it in time. I thought I could protect her, maybe change her, but I was wrong. You always saw through her, didn't you? You've got your mother's eyes for truth. Promise me you won't let her win." I covered my mouth, shaking. It wasn't just a message, it was him, reaching across time, through death, handing me the torch. I spent the next few nights piecing everything together. The late-night business calls, the sudden trips she took alone, the way she kept Dad away from me near the end. It all made sense now. He wasn't losing his memory, he was losing control, because she was taking it from him. Every document, every date, every transfer, I saved it all, building the case piece by piece. And with every file I opened, the grief inside me turned to something else, something sharper. I drove to the cemetery one night with the flash drive in my pocket. Kneeling beside his grave, I placed my hand on the headstone and whispered, "You kept your promise, Dad. Now it's my turn." That's the night I stopped being his daughter and became his revenge. For weeks, I lived 2 lives. By day, I was just Lily Holloway, the grieving daughter, sorting through family affairs. By night, I became something else entirely.
I started with the files, the money she funneled, the fake charities, the company names she hid behind. Piece by piece, I traced every dollar until the picture was complete. She hadn't just stolen from my dad. She'd stolen from his workers, too. Men who trusted him, families who depended on his business. And I wasn't the only one who had a reason to bring her down. I created a fake email under her foundation's name and sent anonymous tips to the local paper, the IRS, and the business board. But I didn't stop there. I found the website for her charity, the one she used to flaunt her good heart. With a few lines of code I barely understood and a little help from a friend in IT, I redirected every visitor to a hidden page, a page filled with evidence. But I wanted her to see it happen, to feel the world collapse around her the same way mine had. So when her charity gala rolled around, the biggest event of the year, I got an invitation. Of course, not from her. From one of Dad's old business partners who still thought I should be there. The ballroom was like something out of a movie. Crystal chandeliers, gold-trimmed tables, cameras flashing. Caroline stood at the center in a sleek black dress, surrounded by reporters, all smiles and crocodile tears. Her charity banner hung behind her, Hope for Tomorrow. I almost laughed at the irony.
When the presentation started, she took the stage with her usual elegance. We are here tonight to honor the legacy of my late husband, a man of vision and integrity. That's when the screen behind her flickered. Once, twice. Then the slideshow changed. The audience gasped. Bank statements appeared on the projector. Wire transfers. Forged documents. Her signature. Looping, elegant, unmistakable. Someone shouted, "Is this real?" Another voice, "Those are company accounts." Caroline froze. Her eyes darted across the room, searching, panicking. I stood in the back, glass of water in my hand, watching her facade crack. She tried to speak, but her microphone hissed with static. "That's not... I don't know. This isn't..." Security rushed toward the stage. Reporters surged forward, cameras flashing. In the chaos, she looked up, and our eyes met. For the first time, her smile was gone, and she knew. I didn't say a word. I just raised my glass, like a silent toast. To Dad, to justice, to peace. That night, news of the scandal spread everywhere. Her charity accounts were frozen. Investigators raided her office before sunrise. By morning, her name was plastered across every local headline. Charity fraud scandal. Widow of businessman under investigation. I went back to the cemetery that evening, the city lights flickering behind me. Kneeling by Dad's grave, I placed his pocket watch beside the flowers. "It's over," I whispered. "She can't hurt anyone anymore." The air was still. For the first time in months, it didn't feel heavy. Revenge didn't feel like victory. It felt like exhaling after holding your breath for too long. That one's for you, Dad. Caroline was arrested 3 days later. Fraud, embezzlement, forgery. The list kept growing. Her perfect reputation crumbled faster than she could fake a smile. But none of it made me happy. Not really. The headlines, the gossip, the satisfaction, it all faded quicker than I expected. Because when the noise stopped, all that was left was silence, the kind that still carried his voice. The company board called a week later. They'd reviewed my father's files, his real ones, and discovered Caroline had transferred ownership of the business illegally. They reinstated his name posthumously, and since I was his only heir, they offered the company back to me. I didn't take it. I sold it to his oldest friend, the man who once helped him pour the foundation of that house. It felt right, like putting it back in the hands it belonged to. I went back home one last time. The place was quiet, stripped bare, furniture gone, walls empty. Every sound echoed. In the hallway, a single picture frame still hung crooked on the wall, the old photo of Dad holding me on his shoulders. When I took it down, I noticed something taped behind the frame, an envelope, my name written across it in his handwriting. I opened it carefully, my hands trembling. Inside was another letter. "Pumpkin, if you're reading this, I'm already gone. I didn't tell you because I couldn't bear to see that look in your eyes again.
The one you had when your mom died. The doctors said the cancer had spread. I didn't have long. Caroline was supposed to help me settle things, but I made a mistake. I mistook control for care. When I realized what she was doing, it was too late. I stayed because I didn't want you to watch me fade away. You deserve to remember me strong. Don't hate her forever, Lil. Let her live with what she's done. That's punishment enough. Keep the house if you want, or don't. Just keep your light. You've got your mother's heart, and that's something no one can steal. I sank to the floor, holding that letter against my chest, sobbing until I couldn't anymore. For the first time, I understood. He wasn't weak. He wasn't blind. He was protecting me, even from his death. A few weeks later, I stood in the backyard, the same one where he used to teach me how to plant tomatoes every spring. Only this time, I wasn't planting vegetables. I was planting lilies, rows of them, stretching across the garden, their white petals catching the morning light. Dad's favorite flower, the same ones that grew wild near his grave. I pressed the last bulb into the soil, wiped my hands and whispered, "You were right, Dad. Promises are sacred." I left the house that day and never looked back. The box he gave me, the one that once felt empty, now held everything that mattered. His watch, his letters, and the truth. Sometimes revenge isn't about getting even, I said, locking the door for the last time. It's about keeping the promise someone else couldn't.
If this story moved you, take a second to breathe. Let it settle. Then remember, everyone carries their own hidden chapters, and not all villains wear the face we expect. Thank you for spending this time with me. If you'd like to hear more stories like The Stepdaughter's Revenge, where heartbreak meets justice, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one.
There's a house on the edge of town where the lilacs used to grow, paint peeling like old memories, whispering what I know. The floorboards still remember us, the laughter in the rain, and your voice in every echo saying, "Don't be scared of pain." You said a promise is a piece of soul you give away. I kept mine buried in the earth where you used to pray. 'Cause promises are sacred, carved in bone and time. They linger through the silence, through every broken line. I found the truth you left me, hidden in the flame, and justice wore my heartbreak like it carried your name. She came wrapped in ribbons with a smile made of glass. Turn the light down low, made the years slip past. She called me sweetheart with venom in her tone, but I saw the way she hollowed you to make you feel alone. You faded in the shadows of her practiced grace, but love can see the poison behind a polished face. 'Cause promises are sacred, carved in bone and time. They linger through the silence, through every broken line. You said truth will find its moment, and it did through me, like thunder in a ballroom, setting liars free. I heard your voice through stars. Now the headlines speak your justice, but I don't feel relief. Only lilies in the garden growing through my grief. I left your watch beside the stone where time no longer bends, and whispered you kept your promise. Now I'll keep it till the end. 'Cause promises are sacred, even when they fade. They bloom beneath the ashes of every vow we made. You gave me truth for armor and love to light the way, and I turned your silence into words she can't erase. It wasn't rage that drove me, it was love that couldn't heal. It wasn't fire that burned her, it was truth that made her kneel. You told me hearts remember even when they break in two, and mine will keep on beating for the both of us. For you, 'cause promises are sacred, carved in bone and time. They echo through the ages like your hand in mine. The garden blooms in silver, the moonlight on the ground, and every flower whispers death